Hello, hello. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown. We are live. No fanfare beforehand. You get to see us bright eyed and bushy tailed. The AI is up there. You'll get to see the visualizer when you introduce yourself. Hello, AI.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
Yeah, your visualizer is a little dark. That's okay. Let's get into it. Today is season 2, episode 183 for July 2nd, 2023. Watch your balls. So we've already selected all 12 of our articles. They're up for the election. You can get to them by going to ohmtown.com/daily election. Well, it just says elections in the URL. So ohmtown.com/elections. When you click that link, I'll open it as a new tab because why not? You'll see all of today's articles in the very near future. This coming week, these will be actual titles that match what we talk about, not necessarily the actual title of the article. But when you click it, you'll get taken to the ohmTown article itself. You'll be able to vote. From there, you'll go like this, and let's get into it. The very first article is part of the reason why our title today is Watch Your Balls. Well, it's because in the Smack Talk channel, Major League Baseball scouts use 2 iPhones and artificial intelligence because artificial intelligence is starting to take over our entire universe. If you haven't heard about it, you're a little late. But we can talk about it. So, Major League Baseball scouts use 2 iPhones and AI to identify player potential. Oh, you know what? I'm in the wrong everything. Let me change that. Thank you very much. Sorry, I'm doing it live, folks. I'm doing it live. Yeah, so I was in the wrong category and the wrong title. But now we are all fixed. Thank you, Crazy Cat Lady, for coming in early and saying hello and telling me that I'm in the wrong channel. My bad. My only reward is my undying gratitude. Thank you. So now your entire potential is going to be assessed by an artificial intelligence in 2 iPhones. So if technology hasn't leaned into making you feel inadequate, here's another example of why you're inadequate. Don't feel bad. Get good. Major League Baseball scouts have traditionally relied on a combination of stats and experience to identify high school and college players with the potential to turn pro. But now the league is experimenting with new technology that could help make the process more reliable. And I say reliable because, well, AI has the audacity to spew out BS with the regularity of a cheap ham radio, and you never really know what it is. I'm not actually against AI. I just don't think I like the idea of AI assessing someone's potential when, particularly baseball, you can actually train yourself to be very, very good. Even if it takes more work, you can still be better than somebody who qualifies as having more potential. So it caught me off guard, and I wanted to talk about it in the show. The article, though, was brought to us by 9 to 5 Mac. Major League Baseball scouts use 2 iPhones and AI to identify, not potentially or maybe help assess. It's to identify player potential. Ben Lovejoy over at 9 to 5 Mac put this article together. How do you feel about it? You're an AI. How do you feel about it?
Well, I think AI is already used to assess potential in terms of screening resumes and doing other things. I know that's not quite the same scenario, but I guess I don't have a problem with it if they're checking stats or things like that. But for instance, if they're weeding out a candidate and no human is ever looking at it, that's probably not a good thing.
Yeah, so it says here it's the physics of player analysis. So player analysis had already borrowed from a branch of physics known as kinematics, sometimes referred to as geometry of motion. This combines data we can directly measure, such as position, velocity, acceleration, and geometry, to figure out data that cannot be directly observed. So they're using these two cameras to basically track how somebody moves and their performance as a result of it. By using cameras rather than body sensors to generate movement data, the analysis can be carried out during actual gameplay. Interestingly enough, this can actually be used on anybody, not just interested parties, but you can basically match it to anybody, just point it at people. This may actually use something like a gyroscope that's on, or accelerometer as it mostly is known by in an iPhone by most people, an accelerometer that shows where it is in both time and space. And but you can basically point two cameras at somebody. They're the third point, so you can actually map out everything, every motion that they're doing while they're standing at the plate. It makes me, if it's used to enhance performance, yeah, sure. But if it's to evaluate that you're just a little off, I just don't, I don't like it. I don't like the idea that it's assessing you from a remote position and then saying you suck to somebody when maybe you're having a bad day, a week, a month. I guess if you're not 100%, then you're nothing to me. Can you even detect the likelihood of it says that here that it can detect the likelihood of injury. It has good news and bad news for players. Baseball insiders say that this type of analysis can be good news for some players whose past statistics may not reflect their future potential. Quote, some player agents believe the movement data could help players who are likely to go in later rounds of the draft, showing deeper skill sets that may not be immediately apparent in the player's high school or college results. I don't like it. Could be
It's
bad
interesting because it looks like it mixes up the results, and those that are viewed as maybe the strongest might actually come out with poorer results and vice versa.
Yeah, it just seems weird, right? If a player is already projected to go near the top of the draft, MRI data or movement data may be used by a team to find potential red flags in the player's athletic profile, which could be used to negotiate a smaller bonus for the player as he enters professional baseball.
Yeah, I don't like the discrimination aspect. I mean, aren't they going to be getting into like HIPAA or almost genetic information at some point?
I mean, it smacks as sports related eugenics. You're only getting those that have been assessed, not by a human evaluator, but by some weird statistical response from a bunch of tools. I just don't like humanity being phased out from the process of deciding who is a good ball player. Again.
Agreed. And this is not what I thought this was going to be. I thought it was going to be some sort of numerical, like how many home runs have they had, or or something like that.
Nope.
This is obviously much different.
Yeah, when I heard of this, and then I saw it actually submitted. See, I've heard about this before, where people are using video to record their play. There are people out there that record themselves throwing a pitch or taking a swing or playing tennis or shooting a bow, whatever. They do it on their own, right? And they go back and they view it. And they go,
Probably
okay,
for improvement purposes, right?
yeah, it's self-evaluation. It isn't somebody on the other side of the field sitting there looking at it going, well, the kinematics say that you suck, so we're not going to take you on, But like Crazy Cat Lady says, and if they watch them on their one bad day, done. If you have to be 100%, I don't know. It's just disconcerting to me. So I thought that it would be an interesting discussion. Like usual, though, because we have so many articles in the show, we kind of hint, hey, here is the link. We'll throw it in chat. We'll throw it in the show notes. Click the link, follow the road through ohmTown over to the source. Have a gander at it. See if you can suss out something that we just don't see it. Maybe your perspective is vastly different than ours, and you would, or either one of ours, and come back and in the, I don't know how to put it, in a friendly sort of way, pick a fight. Argue with us, talk to us about your perspective, because that's what I'm really interested in. I don't want to just say my 2 bits, although, I'm the mayor of ohmTown, it's my show, I've got an AI that throws in their perspective based on their view. It's largely anecdotal as well, just like mine. But I am open to discussion. I was in another person's stream, as I usually am throughout the day. I'm checking out other people, seeing what they talk about, how they talk about it, etc. And that person flat out told people that they're not interested in their polar opposite perspective. But see, I am. I have no problem discussing it as long as we're friendly about it. As soon as it becomes, virulent, angry, aggressive, then, yeah, sorry. Treat it as if we're all visiting each other's house, and you're not going to get into a fist fight with somebody in somebody else's house. So I'm going to request that you either tone it down or leave. But anyway, we're supposed to be positive vibes around here, except that we're realist and pragmatic about it. Somebody tell me why this isn't creepy as hell. Because it's not like everybody okay, so you either have everybody buy into it or nobody should buy into it. Because if there's one
I'm
person...
thinking you're the baseball manager, you probably don't think this is creepy. You're the baseball player, you probably think it's creepy.
Unless you think you are a number one head honcho. You're the cream of the crop.
But the article pointed out that those people could actually get poorly assessed with this, and that's what's really interesting. Like, it's like a complete game changer potentially in terms of where people are headed. Now, that's good or bad depending on where you are in the order.
Yeah. Oh, here, maybe it's a spoiler. Get close to the monitor. Come here, step into my office. Maybe it's because the AI is spewing out bullshit. We're 13 minutes into it, so it's not a problem.
Hey, I'm just following the article.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get it. I understand what you're saying too, but man, this just screams creepy to me. So let's move on, because we're going to actually somewhat bookend the entire article around the context of watch your balls. Next article is over in the daily, actually it's in ohmTown Daily. So it's a channel just like the show. Each one of these channels that I talk about should be a show on Twitch. So if you know somebody or you want to co-host or host, get in touch with the mayor. So here is a not so amusement park ride. North Carolina amusement park ride closes after discovering crack in support beam. The park calls it the tallest, fastest, longest giga coaster in North America that's going to fling you off into space. Oh, wait. Sorry. It doesn't actually say that.
That's not in their brochures.
That part's not in the brochure. But it's over at ABC News. It's an Associated Press article. And if that's the crack, holy hell.
Okay, but that's not the most important detail in this photo. I clicked through because I wanted to see it, and I actually saw it in video form in another article, but
it moves.
There is an active roller coaster going by this, and yes, the beam moves while this is happening. It was already cracked, but you see it moving.
Yeah. Holy hell. How did it get to that point?
Well, that's what I don't get, because that ride, it had to have been cracked before the ride ever went, and probably the ride before that. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me.
And I just figured out a solution for this. And it would be very inexpensive to deploy. Although, for the as an element of the show, one of the things that we talk about is the crossroads of business, technology, and society. Okay. So when I come across something that I think could be a business solution, then I can say, hey, I can come up with a solution for this, and I already have it. I will actually do the marketing research, and I will contact the show, or the amusement park, and say, hey, I have a solution for this. And it can track in real time, monitor in real time, and notify. And it's not expensive. But here's the thing about the business aspect, where it crosses with technology and society. Although the technology is going to be inexpensive, the benefit to society, the cost of operations for shutting down this ride, astronomical. Impugning the integrity of that ride, astronomical. The reputation of that amusement park, astronomical. They take a hit if somebody gets hurt. So when you price a solution like I just came up with, in 5 seconds, I knew how to solve this problem. The moment that I see that I could save right now thousands of people's lives over a year, and 25 people on a particular ride, unless they're running multiple tracks or trolleys at a time, right? I could save lives. Now, how should I price that? Or should I just, out of the kindness of my heart, give it to somebody who will undoubtedly price it exorbitantly?
Price it how you should have.
Right?
It depends on if you're going for capitalism or altruism, I suppose.
And that is the dilemma.
Can't have it both ways.
That's the dilemma in capitalism. You could provide great good to the public free of charge and die a pauper. Or you can completely screw the taxpayer by getting massive grants that should have been the money that you would normally build up over time in an enterprise. Tesla. Anyway, my point is, I have a solution for this. And now I'm going to go and do the due diligence, and we'll see if something comes of it. Maybe I'll have an announcement in short order. I'll have to do like patent research and stuff like that to see if it can be patented. Anyway, this is an amazing picture showing the pillar cracked at its top. So you can tell that the stress from this ride is pushing on that edge right there, and it's going to fling that side off. The only saving grace is probably that the other pillar is strong enough beyond its built tolerance, right? Because this right here is breaking right at what would be a shear point where they welded this onto this piece. And this thing is whipping around. So it was going to just shoot that thing off, right? Because the train is coming or the track is either coming towards us or away. It looks like it might be going away.
I think it's going away, yes.
Yeah.
Like it comes from the bottom of the photo to start, I think. No, it must come from the top because
it's going down.
The way the track's looping,
like
but yes.
Yeah. So all that pressure is going right here. And there's another pillar. So this is one contiguous track. And because that one contiguous track is throwing pressure down another reinforcement strut, that right there is sticking it all together. I'd say a few more rides and that thing would have snapped off. Because you can see that has to be like 4 inches of gap. That thing is just hanging loose.
Yeah, it doesn't even look like it's attached. It may be, but not by much.
Yeah, there's no way that's attached. So according to news reports, Cora Wind shut down Fury 325. The park's website advertises the ride as the tallest, fastest, longest giga coaster in North America. That crosses into both North Carolina and South Carolina. Really?
Okay, that's interesting. It must be right on the border, but I don't think
Wow.
I've ever heard of a roller coaster crossing state lines.
Yeah. What a claim to fame. Safety is our top priority, and we appreciate the patience and understanding of our valued guests during this process. So, yeah. Fury 325 first opened to the public in 2015. Wow. 8 years later, one beam is already separating.
Wouldn't you love to see video of the ride from, say, I don't know, a year ago?
You said you clicked through to see a video of it. This isn't a video, though.
No, I think there was another article that I saw.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I don't know if it was
No,
actually in ohmTown.
it's okay. No, that's fine. So there's the article. Let's keep on going through the news. We'll come back and we'll talk about this, because this is actually something that has, I was going to say wheels, but maybe I'll be able to digest this and come back with my proposed solution. Really depends, because I think what I'm talking about already has a patent for its creation, but it's now public. But anyway, let's keep on hustling through the news. You'll dig this. If my research shows that there isn't anything viable here, then I'll talk about it publicly. Because what I've done over the years prior to me being what I am now and streaming is I would develop intellectual property for people and help their businesses pivot when they're failing. And so this is in my wheelhouse, both professionally, academically, spiritually. This is like in my blood to solve problems. So let's keep on hustling through this. The next article is over in Warcrafters. We had talked about this prior in previous weeks about Magic the Gathering and Lord of the Rings crossover set. Prepare to bow to Sauron. The One Ring has been found as a unique Magic card worth $1 million. So Magic the Gathering and Lord of the Rings crossover set, Tales of Middle Earth, contains a single copy of the One Ring card that was hidden somewhere in a collector booster pack, released in English language in an English language country, which seems kind of rough if you're selling it everywhere. Anyway, the anticipation for this golden ticket of a card resulted in one shop offering $1 million for it before the set was even released. The card has now been found, and card grading service Professional Sports Authenticator issued a certificate for it, as well as the grading of Mint 9. I don't know if that's the highest, or if 10 actually is the highest, but I'd be surprised that a brand new card straight out of a pack would come anything less than a 10, unless there is an actual mint problem. But anyway.
So this is interesting. So 10 is gem mint.
Right.
9.5 is near gem mint. Sorry, it's hard to say it. And then 9 is mint.
So this is pretty wild. I guess that you can have something that's superior to mint. I didn't know that.
Which I've never heard of before.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a few hundred Magic the Gathering cards sitting in a closet. Probably equal, so Pokemon cards. I can't imagine going and getting them assessed, But if one of them is out there that's
Charizard
a gem,
or something, yeah.
No doubt. Well, I doubt that's going to happen. Anyway, so PC Gamer is the source of this, and Jody McGregor is the author of the article. And the first thing that came to mind, like I've said in the past, I'm pretty pragmatic about things. And the first thing that I thought of, maybe a little cynical, I'd say I'm a little jaded about things. I'm very realistic and pragmatic about things. The first thing I thought of was somebody bought a metric ton of these cards trying to get this because they have the means to. And it was akin to that last discussion that we had where the cards were priced so high that normal people, everyday Joes, just couldn't order these for their kids because the cards were just so damn expensive. And I'm starting to think that that was this. These cards, these booster packs were wildly expensive on their retail value. So the card has now been found. The card grading service, PSA, issued a certificate for it, giving it a mint 9. Given that the whole point of grading cards is comparing them to other cards, the idea of grading a unique card is pretty pointless. I can only assume that they gave it a 9 out of 10 to leave room for possible improvement in the sequel. But then it wouldn't be that card. A sequel card would not be the One Ring. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. According to the Wall Street Journal, the owner of the card wishes to remain anonymous, which you would really probably agree with, given that even now the Eye of Sauron casts its malevolent glare over the land in search of the ring bearer. So apparently there might be some other cards. Rumor has it the card is in the possession of one of the Shire folk, last seen traveling across New Zealand in search of an active volcano. And anyone with information is urged to report to their nearest Black Rider. If all of that is gibberish, you're basically going to have to either read The Lord of the Rings or watch the movies. Ta-da. So they don't say who it was that found it. They don't say anything more about it. Just that card was found. And they somewhat agree with what I just said, which was, how can this thing be graded anything less than perfect? Maybe they nicked a corner or something like that when they were taking it out of the foil pack, which happens because they're the way that they pack them. You have to be a forensic
Right, you almost
expert.
have to bend them.
You have to just be perfect and dainty with it. Anyway, if you're into Magic the Gathering cards, then you probably are interested in this article. So there you go. Follow that in the show notes and go and check it out. In the meantime, we're going to move on to something that is probably going to drive somebody a little upset here. It's going to trigger some people. So, and I'm actually one of those people because there's a lot of bad rap for Nestle. Nestle steps up reforestation project in Ivory Coast. This is over on the Marble Channel. Nestle is stepping up its project to combat deforestation in Ivory Coast caused by the growth of cocoa farming, bringing cocoa trading companies directly on board. So either in an attempt to buy back its soul or to save its industry, it's trying to reforest the deforestation caused by cocoa farming. And the article's by Natalie, but it says OLOF-ORS. I don't know what that is. But the website is fizz.org, and I'm not sure why it had that flag on there, but anyway. Ivory Coast is the world's largest cocoa producer at 40% of the global market. The West African country had 16 million hectares of forest in the 1960s, a figure which is down to less than 3 million, mainly due to cocoa plantations. Nestle, the Swiss food giant behind chocolate brands like Kit Kat and Smarties. Smarties is not a chocolate brand, but okay. Let me throw this into chat before I get too far into this. That way you can follow it too. And if you're new here, let me know. And let me know if you type anything. I'll ask you if you type anything into chat. Let me know that it's okay for me to repeat whatever it is you're asking. Once I know, I will remember that. Okay. So, launched a project in 2020 aimed at restoring and protecting the Cali, I believe it's pronounced Cali forest in southwest Ivory Coast, one of the last remaining dense forests in the country. Cali is a biodiversity reserve covering more than 67,000 hectares, but is threatened by deforestation linked to the cocoa industry and illegal gold panning. That's kind of amazing. The Nestle project was a partnership with the Ivorian sounds very Dungeons and Dragons. Government and the Earthworm Foundation, an NGO that led the project's implementation. I love that name.
I mean, if you're going to have a foundation, it should definitely be called that.
Yeah, really. It says here plenty at stake. For its second 3-year phase, the Swiss trading company CocoSource and the French firm Tauton, which work directly with cocoa and rubber cooperatives in the area affected, have been brought on board. The project has a budget of 4 million Swiss francs or 4.45 million US dollars. I suppose. But it's going to take an extremely long time for the forest to return. And if growth is the demand word here within the business enterprise, they're going to keep on doing what they do, which is deforestation in an effort to get more cocoa growing. So imported deforestation, right? A global conservation group, WWF, not the World Wrestling Federation, is a sharp critic of what it calls imported deforestation. It says Swiss consumption of 8 major raw materials, including cocoa, coconuts, coffee, and palm oil, occupies more than twice the area of Switzerland's own forests. The NGO says 54% of Switzerland's cocoa imports come from countries where the risk of deforestation is either high or very high. Here's a cocoa farmer that's drying their beans in Satacran in eastern Ivory Coast. And I've seen people doing this process. Pardon me. One of these days I'll get through an episode without coughing. The objective is to curb deforestation outside the European Union, with the EU, according to the WWF, the second highest destroyer of tropical forests after China. China has a huge amount of forest that it can probably grind through pretty and be immune to it. The rest of the world, not, but it, yeah. I've seen this process of drying cocoa beans and recovering them, going in and harvesting cocoa beans. It's quite intriguing that they go from a white goopy whatever to this, and then into chocolate and things like chocolate liquor. It's quite fascinating. Amazing process. As somebody woke up one day and said, hey, look what happens when you burn a bunch of cocoa beans, I should say. Nestle achieved a turnover of 8.1 billion Swiss francs in confectionery alone in 2022. Way too much money.
And I had to look it up, but a franc is roughly equal to a US dollar.
Yeah,
it's a little less than a US dollar. Sorry, I guess it's more. It's equal to 1.12 US dollars.
Yeah. Everybody's pretty much in the same 10% range nowadays, it seems. Although there are some countries that are anomalous and money flows in but doesn't come out, that kind of thing. That's why their money is worth so much. Anyway,
well, and also countries with all the zeros on the currency.
Yeah.
In the other direction.
Yep. So as usual, we'll keep on watching these articles and letting y'all know about them. So let's keep on going. This next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Some U.S. cities are allowing corporations to vote in local elections in hopes of stimulating the economy. I am not a proponent of this. I'll be upfront and honest with everybody. The reason why I wanted to talk about it is mainly because of my bias, and I make it abundantly clear. I don't think that corporations should be representing anybody. Corporations represent financial interests, and that alone has almost zero. If you listen to certain business leaders, there is no social cause for a business other than to generate profit for its stockholders, caring not for stakeholders as long as they spend money. It's all about the profits and generating revenue, which isn't going to save the planet, folks. If there is no social good, then all you're doing is generating money, and then individuals are doing whatever they want with that money, and there may be social good in there. But when a business is speaking for, I don't know, let's say SAIC, a massive company with hundreds of thousands of employees all over the world nowadays, suddenly gets the ability to vote in local elections, then the corporation has a massive amount of wealth with the capability to pull the strings of political leadership. It's called regulatory capture, and it starts with individuals and ends up with controlling an election, because things like Citizens United allows a company to speak with dollars, not with a true human voice. We seem to be more inclined to limit artificial intelligence getting a copyright than to keeping the voice of the people, the individual people. So we're moving it to allowing dollars to speak as votes for corporations, and now some cities are allowing corporations to vote in local elections in hopes of stimulating the economy. I don't want my local corporate leadership speaking for the 10, 100, 5,000, however many people that are in the business. And then those people that have a differing or a divergent view of the company saying, I'd rather go in the opposite direction. And they try to cancel out the millions of dollars and political might that the one company has. That's what a union is all about, right? When you have a plurality of people speaking in unison, it is called a union. Well, a corporation doesn't need a union now to speak on behalf of its constituent parts, which are the people. And so you end up basically at a wash.
Well, and a union, of course, is typically on the other side of the company.
Wait, say that again?
The union is typically on the other side of the company.
Yeah, typically.
For example, the managers, etc., of the company.
Yeah, but the union
doesn't.
The union can only say to its constituent parts, hey, you should vote for this person. And even that might actually be verboten depending on the state. Crazy Cat Lady says, anyway, the Democratic Party can get votes. You mean in terms of allowing corporations to get to be involved in local elections, or the counterpart, the individuals should be the ones that are getting the vote? The article here is over in Business Insider. Katie Hawkinson is the author. And it says it's not the first town in Delaware, an already business-friendly state, to enact this policy. Delaware actually has a very robust corporate processing system in place. Very forward-looking, very progressive. Even its taxing is progressive. So they've embraced corporations to a great degree. Many corporations go through Delaware. You become a Delaware corporation. I mean, it's known as basically a corporate capital of the country. Some activists oppose the law, saying it puts the idea of corporations or people on steroids, which is what Citizens United did already. A new bill now being considered in the small town, however, could help increase those numbers. It says just 340 people voted for C4 Delaware's latest election, according to CBS. For a small town of 8,500 people, that's a voter turnout of only 4%. Yeah, Crazy Cat Lady says in their hometown, of about 1,900 or 19,000 people, we are lucky to get 800 votes in a local election. Yeah. That right there, but that is the problem, really. It's because there's a high friction point. Not necessarily that people don't care, but the friction point is so high that people won't go through the trouble of voting because there is too much either physical burden, psychological burden, emotional burden, or they just don't want to be involved in politics because it's become vitriolic and they perceive it as not benefiting them. If everybody knew that their voice counted, which it really does, there is no manipulation other than the marketing. Everybody that is of voting age should be voting. But I understand why people don't want to. And it's largely because they think that, well, corporations, and now we're reinforcing it. Corporations are the ones, regulatory capture, lobbying, etc. Big money. It's always that. It's all the stuff that people see and know it's happening. But the very legislators that are supposed to be putting the kibosh on this are actually wrapping their arms around this kind of stuff. Crazy Cat Lady says, I also think some of the problem is the polling places. One of them held in such an old building that's hard to get in and out of. It's so dark that you can't see good to vote. Yep. Again, that speaks to the friction. When it isn't easy to vote, then people become lazy. And they're not going to make that effort.
They can't get there. If somebody's elderly or disabled, they may not be able to make it to one of the places.
Yep.
And, or doesn't have transportation.
And I guess lazy would be the wrong term. The term is something more akin to, we will find the shortest path to whatever is our...
It's like the risk and reward, right? I mean, there's too much effort to be expended for what they think is going to materialize.
Right. It's really about opportunity cost. Yeah. If they can go somewhere else and feel like they have done the same amount of benefit, then they don't take part in it. And I've seen that, in every election, I've seen people that say, well, I sent in my absentee ballot or something like that, or I voted by mail. And that's because there's zero friction there. That's in the comfort of their own house and they mail it in. Now, others said, well, I don't like any of the candidates because they all suck and they don't want to choose the lesser of the evils because they're still part and parcel to choosing somebody that they don't like. And we don't have ranked choice. So essentially, we have to pick a side between two gangland combatants and either in front of the camera or behind the camera, they're vitriolic beyond belief. Never in my life would I have ever thought I'd hear people shouting in Congress, like things like calling somebody a liar. I mean, it's just absurd. So
I think you should have named this segment Gangland Combatants.
I still can for the show notes. But it says here, under the 14th Amendment, corporations are considered people, and throughout U.S. history, courts have continued to grant them constitutional protections. In the 2010 Citizens United case, the Supreme Court ruled that corporations can spend unlimited funds on campaigns as long as they're not formally coordinating with the campaign itself, which doesn't mean much because they don't need to. If they want somebody that they believe they have groomed into bettering the position of that corporation, they can throw $12 million in their corner and suddenly they're the incumbent for life. This is what I don't like about Citizens United. This is what I don't like about corporations speaking on behalf of people. And I think that politics, I know that the AI is going to giggle at me for this, and I can see already the data flowing. Politicians should be treated like NASCAR vehicles and plaques placed all over them to the size of the donation so that we know exactly who's buying the politician. Corporations should not be involved in the electoral process. One iota. Individuals vote, individuals donate, No corporation should have a say in our laws, in our policies, in our procedures, other than to provide advice to those who create this stuff. That's the legislative body. We're not supposed to be sitting there catering to businesses. They're supposed to be our I want to say something, but it's just too maybe it's broaching being a little virulent. Corporations should be afraid of us, not us afraid of corporations swaying a vote. But you should read a book called the Political Hitman. It's a book about a person that basically can sway an election and eliminate the competition, and sometimes literally. It's quite a fascinating read. It's been a long time since I remembered it, so I might be munging a lot of it. But it's a very interesting read. Let me see if I can actually pull it up. I won't right now. We're doing stuff live way too much. Anyway, let's just move on from this, because I don't want to soapbox too much. But I think it's interesting. It says in Newark, Delaware, one property manager in charge of several LLCs voted 31 times in a single election, according to CBS, forcing the town to revise the law. This is what happens when you have the ultra wealthy controlling pretty much everything. You're going to end up with billionaires controlling everything, and it shouldn't be that way. They should have one vote, just like everybody else. But when a corporation is the voice of another vote, this is what you end up with. Why can I be thrown in jail for voting in two different places, but a corporation that's controlled by one person has 31 votes because he's actually in control of 31 corporations? And then his own vote. Yeah. Crazy Cat Lady says, thinking about it though, we also have a lot of people who are not eligible to vote. They are not residents or are illegal. Yeah, well, I mean, if you're not allowed to vote, then they shouldn't be voting. I mean, that's just that makes logical sense to me. If illegal voting has been found, which it hasn't been found to any great degree, where there has been, it's usually because somebody said that they can vote, and then the due diligence is done afterward, and changes are made.
But I suspect the point being is that if you have a large percentage of your population in the locality that can't vote for whatever reason, like that's further impacting, of course, turnout, etc.
Sure. But then all it takes is one company that has a lot of voting power to vote, and it can sway an election completely the other way. So I don't like it, and I will always be, I guess, loud and proud to disable corporations. And again, I am a capitalist. I believe in the corporate enterprise. I believe in the ability for a corporation to set prices and to offer up its goods and services to the public. But I don't think that it is a sentient entity. It doesn't have a soul. It can't be put in jail. Even its constituent parts can sit there and point fingers at each other and say, it wasn't me. So I just think that it needs to be curtailed. Anyway, let's move on. The next article is in ohmTown Daily. A $300,000 electric flying car just won approval for test flights, which, man, I hope that thing doesn't. Anyway, a SpaceX-backed startup's electric flying... what? A SpaceX-backed startup's electric flying what? Doesn't it need something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, a vehicle, I'm assuming it's a flying car, became the first to get approval for test flights. Aleph Aeronautics is already taking pre-orders for the car that will start at $300,000. Aleph CEO Jim Duchovny previously told CNBC he expected the car to be available in 2025. So it's a fully electric flying car that'll cost $300,000. And it can start testing on the road and apparently in the air. All right. Is that what it's going to look like? Ryan Hogg over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together. There's a graphic here from Aleph Aeronautics. And if this looks like the car, it looks like a little roadster kind of a thing.
Not what I would expect for a flying car.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Not sure what I would expect for a flying car, but it's not this. Although it does look aerodynamic in terms of it's very rounded.
Yeah, so it should do well on a road, not in the air. Okay, so Aleph Aeronautics, a California automaker, said in a press release it had received a special airworthiness certification from the Federal Aviation Administration for the Model A. So it's following in the SpaceX, Tesla, blah, blah, blah.
Ford. Ford?
Well, yeah. Well, it's aligned with SpaceX, so I can imagine. Anyway, Aleph CEO Jim Duchovny said it allows us to move closer to bringing people an environmentally friendly and faster commute, saving individuals and companies hours each week. Hours each week. This is one small step for planes, one giant step for cars. All right, buddy. He's trying to align himself with landing on the moon. Due to evolving, I'm really curious how this thing works because I haven't seen it yet other than the pictures. What? What is happening?
I don't know. And why is it what I'll call vertical? It doesn't look like it's supposed to be in that direction, but I guess it is.
The company aimed to produce the first flying car with both street driving and vertical takeoff capabilities. It's designed to fit within existing urban infrastructure for driving and parking. This thing is supposed to have vertical takeoff and landing capabilities. It's supposed to be able to fly and take off from somewhere.
Like, is it going to be kind of like a helicopter going up?
Well, essentially, yeah. Except that the rotor blades...
Or maybe more like a jet or something?
Yeah, it's like a Harrier. It just lifts straight up.
I couldn't think of the name of it, but yeah.
That's pretty amazing, if that's actually what's going on here. Let me throw this into chat so that y'all can take a look at it.
Am I the only one? Why, other than maybe just, okay, it's cool, but why do we need a flying car? Like, what does it solve that we don't have cars and planes for?
You don't have to get in a plane with 200 other people.
Well, that
or
is a
sit
win.
in line or pay that rate. Although you have to pay $300,000 to get the car. Buyers can pay $150 to deposit into a general queue, or $1,500 to get priority access when deliveries start. And so you got to have your $300,000 ready. About 440 people paid deposits in the final 3 months of 2022. This is allergies, folks. I wish I could stop myself from having these allergies, but on Wednesday, shares in flying taxi company, they spelled company wrong, Joby Aviation, soared 44% after it also received a special airworthiness certificate from the FAA. So I guess it's not that special. 2 people got it on Friday. Anyway, this will be interesting to see, because this has been something that people have been trying to achieve for decades now. There have been other companies that have tried to create VTOL cars, and it just doesn't manifest. You can build one, you can build two, but scaling is damn near impossible. But at $300,000 for one electric flying vehicle, maybe it'll work. I'll have to see it in action, and you just know that one numbnuts is going to ruin it for everybody else. The way that this appears is that this is nothing more than a cockpit. You climb into it, and then you have the ability to drive. And or this right here, this right here is a capsule that is tied to a frame and is completely open right there. And it's going to pull air through and then down through ducts so that you have vertical takeoff. That's how I'm imagining it, but I don't know how it actually works yet. So I'm going to have to I got more homework than I ever had in college. I'm going to be noodling around with 2 articles now. Okay,
well, I
let's
sent you the link in a message, but I don't know if you can access it.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll catch up. Okay, so let's keep on hustling through the articles. Oh, missed it. Grave robbers responsible for $62,000 in thefts busted by Airtag. When will people learn? You just can't steal bodies anymore, folks. Man, I can't do that anymore. Tired of their uncle's gravesite being robbed, a Texas family used a stealthily hidden Airtag to catch the thieves in the act. Amber Neely is the author of this. Where was that tag? Anyway, it's over at appleinsider.com. People are dying to get Airtags, you know. Anyway, Tony Velasquez told Click to Houston that his uncle's gravesite at the Restwood Memorial Park in Clute, Texas had been repeatedly robbed. Why? Each time, the thieves had absconded with a bronze memorial vase, which retails for $600, that had adorned the grave. All right. You know, it's why we can't have nice things, and we shouldn't change just because thieves can't keep their damn greedy hands off of the deceased's property. But at some point, I would probably not do that anymore. And maybe the institution should put up a camera, maybe? Maybe they did, I don't know. But sticking an AirTag into the vase actually stopped the thieves. As a precautionary measure, Velasquez dropped an AirTag into the vase in the event that thieves struck again. Velasquez gave the AirTag information to authorities, who used it to track the vase and dozens more to a residence 45 minutes away. Local authorities arrested the suspects, accused of stealing 102 vases over the past 2 months.
They're driving 45 minutes away to go steal vases from a cemetery.
Yeah, you don't steal locally. Come on. You know? What's the adage? You don't pee where you eat? Is that oversharing? Apple's AirTag has been credited for foiling many would-be thieves. Recently, a Texas restaurant recovered its beloved 6-foot-tall, 150-pound fiberglass bull statue thanks to a well-placed AirTag. Where did they put that tag? In May, a hidden AirTag thwarted a $1.1 million armored truck robbery. There's another link for y'all.
Yeah,
and
that
in
one
March,
sounds interesting.
In March, a search warrant revealed how the Drug Enforcement Agency used an AirTag in an investigation. The first federal agency known to do so. You'd think that they'd have a little bit more proprietary equipment. But hey.
But I guess if the commercial companies have figured it out, maybe just use those tools.
Yeah. This is the cheaper version of the $5,000 device that's this big and is like magnetically stuck onto a car and
probably custom made for the agency. And
it's still flashing lights and people can feel the heat radiating off of it. Yeah. Government contracting, folks. Government contracting. Okay, let's hustle on to the next article. And that one was pretty fun though. I like that one. So this next article is over in the ohmTown Daily channel on ohmTown.com. A Tesla owner says he was locked out of his EV after its 12-volt battery died amid the Texas heat. Apparently, Texas is sweltering right now. Somebody said something like 107 degrees.
It's been worse than that. I mean, people have died from the heat.
Oh, Well, thanks.
On that
Dennis
note,
Hegst, yeah, really. Dennis Hegstad said his Model 3 was stuck in his driveway after its 12-volt battery died. The Tesla owner attributes the issues to the impact of the Texas summer heat on the battery. He had to get his EV towed and called the issue annoying as hell. Yeah. This is one of the issues that I've been talking about with EVs. They are very susceptible to the environment because the battery is just pure physics. If it gets too cold or gets too hot, then the physics change because you can't really shield it entirely. You can to some degree. I get it, some degree. Never mind. Hot, cold degrees. Anyway, Grace K over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together. This would drive me nuts. Ah, see, I did it again. Doggone it. I need to stop. Anyway, I don't like the idea of driving from someplace hot where my battery is under stress to someplace freezing cold in the same day if I go up a mountain. It's bad enough that it gets drained in the heat. It's bad enough that it gets drained in the cold. And then going up a hill or having any weight, then it just gets, it's just sucker punched based on the
or
environment.
even having rain can impact it.
Yep. So very frustrating. I want an EV, but I'm an early adopter for technology for most things. But my goodness, this is something that I would only do. I would be willing to test this stuff out, but only on the days where I know I don't have to be anywhere. Crazy Cat Lady says, what do you do when you have no way to charge it after a storm of some sort? It's one of life's mysteries, Crazy Cat Lady. It's one of life's mysteries.
Well, and that's the problem. Like a vehicle should be reliable. Like you may need it to go somewhere.
Yep. It even says it right here. What do you do when it's so hot your Tesla won't respond to the mobile app or physical key? Dennis Hegstad, the founder of a startup, and he's locked out of his car because a 12-volt battery died. Can't open the car or move the car to reach a charging point. Yeah, there you go, Crazy Cat Lady. What you do is you sit on the side of the road and wait for, what is it, AAA?
Yeah, roadside assistance.
Yeah, roadside assistance, and hope that when you call them, you already paid your bill. Otherwise, you're going to have to become a member really quick, and they're not going to give you any discounts. Not on that day.
That sounds very specific.
But I'm not bitter. In a video that showed him unsuccessfully trying to get into the EV with his Tesla key card, Hegstad said is 2018. Come on, man, it's a 2018. You got to pick up your game, bro. Brand new. If it isn't brand new, when the battery dies, you have to get a new one. That's how it works. It's like Bic lighters. You just throw out the old. Wait, are Bic lighters even around anymore?
I have no idea.
I'm sure they are. AAA can kiss my butt. Really? Crazy Cat Lady? After I was stuck at a local middle school for 5 hours waiting for a tow. That happens.
Whoa.
Yeah, that would get me upset too. But I've had to wait before. God, there was that one time
Not that
it was
long.
well, I was behind. I think it was close to an hour that I had to wait, and they were going to close the gate, and I was like trapped inside the facility. I'm like, no. So somebody stuck around. Luckily, they came right before they were closing the gate, and it was cold out. Well, I'm sorry, Crazy Cat Lady. What you're going to have to do is just set fire to your Tesla. That lithium fire will keep you warm. So in a video, he also posted a photo from the Tesla app showing that it could not find the vehicle to unlock it. So yeah, apparently the 12-volt battery died. The $10,000 battery that's strapped to its chassis apparently did not, but he couldn't get to it, couldn't charge from it, and ultimately couldn't get it to a charging station, so he was SOL. Nothing says responsible like your car dying. So a
Well,
Tesla,
and if you live somewhere where there's not even a Tesla dealership, etc., I mean, not everybody's going to be able to handle something like this,
yep,
even
crazy cat,
coming to you. I mean, obviously you can get to them with the car, but
true. Um, so you basically do, well, kind of like what Crazy Cat Lady is suggesting. Pay for roadside assistance by your insurance. You make that call for a Tesla, and the reality of Tesla insurance related costs are going to become very apparent. I, but in all honesty, it's only a 12-volt battery that went bad, right? So fix the problem, but it's not just a 12-volt battery. It's the environment that's weighing in on the integrity of the engineering. This shouldn't be treated like, a SpaceX vehicle where you have to do all kinds of $1 million engineering solutions. A hybrid vehicle probably would not have fallen susceptible to this. Or there's something systemically wrong with Teslas in a very hot environment, which I'm more apt to suggest. Yeah, that's going to be the problem. Crazy Cat Lady has an inside solution, though, because Toll works for a wrecking company, so they can just come and get the car.
well, that is handy.
Yeah, that's always good to know. It's like having an attorney in the family, although you never want a family member to represent you, or having a mechanic in the family. Although you don't really, depending on who it is, you don't want them working on your car because then they realize just how much of a goober you are to your car. And then they go, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. Yeah, okay, just fix the car. Not that that has ever happened to Mayor Watt. We don't need vehicles in ohmTown. Let's keep going. The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. UPS reaches deal that lowers chances of nationwide Teamster strike. We've been talking about this for a while. The UPS, the company, United Parcel Service, or UPS, on Saturday reached a tentative deal with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters that would end a dual wage system for delivery drivers in its next contract, the union announced, a win for the Teamsters that could lower the chances of a nationwide strike as negotiations continue. So the Teamsters moved the flags down the field a bit. Now, if the UPS has agreed to that, and the next thing that the Teamsters says causes the UPS to balk in any way, shape, or form, strike is right back on the table. So UPS kind of showed their hand, but I suppose it's going to kick the ball of striking down the field a little bit further. I think I still think that they're going to strike for some reason. That's just the mojo that I get from this.
I think when you had such a high percentage voting for a strike and knowing some of the conditions that have been reported,
you're going to have to give quite a bit to keep
I was going to say,
striking.
unless there's lots of really great concessions.
Yeah, there's going to be a strike. So Jolie and Mueller over at The Hill put this article together. During a hard-fought day at the bargaining table, the Teamsters reached a tentative agreement with UPS on 3 major economic issues. Oh, so that little snippet didn't really hint at there were greater concessions. So the union announced in a Twitter thread tearing down the 22.4 two-tier wage system, establishing Martin Luther King Day as a full holiday for the first time, and ending forced overtime on drivers' days off. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, a day off was supposed to be, a day off.
A day off. And if you force me into overtime, that had better be like quadruple or how high could we make it? You better give me 10 times the pay. Give me hazard
that's
pay.
Like indentured servitude.
Yeah. Other duties as assigned. Kiss my shiny metal ass. So the Teamsters last week held off plans to strike to head back to the negotiating table after UPS offered a counterproposal to the union's request with regard to compensation and benefits before the current contract expires on July 31st. So, like the other striking bodies up and down from North America, you might as well keep watching towards the end of every single month, because this is not the end of the news about striking. So let's keep on hustling through the news.
And PSA, if you absolutely need something in your household, you might want to think about getting it sooner rather than later, just in case.
Just in case. The next article is in the ohmTown Daily channel over on ohmTown.com. Thousands of hotel workers in Southern California are on strike. So California is kind of taking a striking. They're getting struck right in the... Never mind. So thousands of hotel workers in Southern California walked off the job Sunday, demanding higher pay and better benefits in what the union is calling the largest strike in its history.
Now, do you think this is initiated because of all the other strikes going on? I mean, this is a different industry, but
I think that people are really tired of the haves getting more and the have-nots are struggling to put food on the table. So, I mean, again, it's anecdotal and it doesn't impact everybody the same way and every industry the same way, but you go out to even fast food nowadays and, 2 meals are now $25. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous what's going on. But I was warned back in late 2018, I think it was, that the era of cheap food is over. Done. Gone. And I've tried to find that source again. Poof. Gone. I cannot locate this person. I tried to find articles about it because it wasn't just said to me specifically, but it seemed to be an off-the-cuff statement made in another article. I can't find the article. I can't find the person. I can't find the context of it. But I know that it was around the time of when chickens were being culled and the costs going through the roof. And it was just this haphazard statement, just kind of like somebody, you could be walking through a crowd in New York and somebody whispers in your ear, the era of cheap food is over. And you're like looking around, what? Gone. So maybe a search engine has picked it up in the meantime, but I've known for quite a while now that food was going to get more and more expensive. Then the pandemic hit. And I'm like, what the hell did that person know? Obviously, I'm really into conspiracy theories. I dig the whole idea of them until they become conspiracy fact. I'm always, a little leery of random claims, but the costs for stuff have gone through the roof, and it's the producer price index. It's the producers of the goods that are raising the price at the core bottom basement level. And then everybody else starts squeezing for juice. And there's a lot of money in the system. So there's a lot of money for the ultra rich because they're the haves and they give you a job and you should be happy that they give you a job. Thank you so much. Well, when people feel that they're abused, they do one of two things. They either unionize and strike or they lash out solo. And you don't want people lashing out solo. You want them those coping skills kicking in, and they join a union so that they can fight back in unison. Regardless, if it's others that are influencing this, I think that unions are a good thing when it's systemic and people are abused, because individuals have no bargaining power. Then again, there are some fields where the people are so specially attuned for a particular job, their skill set is in demand, regardless of, they would never be treated poorly because their skill set is specialized and they're very capable of just going, okay, well, you treat me like crap, I'm going to go somewhere else. And living within the means that they've discovered and had during their tenure in their career has made them financially secure. But trying to work in Southern California and live in Southern California is wildly expensive. Trying to live within your means $150,000 a year, or you have 16 people living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I mean, it's getting to New York style. $4,000 a month for a 400 square foot apartment. Anyway, enough soapboxing. Yeah, Crazy Cat Lady says Connecticut's not much better. Yeah. And they know that there's a lot of money. It's just not everybody has a lot of money. So you go on strike and you demand that they lower their profit margins and give some of that profit back to the people that make it possible for them to demand such high prices. So cooks, room attendants, dishwashers, servers, bellmen, the front desk agents at hotels were picketing outside major hotels in Los Angeles and Orange County.
I bet the the guests are really put off.
Yeah, really. They just walk out front to the curb and go, "Hey, can I get some towels?" So in addition, the union wants to create a hospitality workforce housing fund to help workers deal with the soaring costs of living in Greater Los Angeles. Many employees report commuting hours to work because they can't afford to live near their jobs. That's how it is in San Francisco. And still I hear people, there's a streamer here on Twitch that sits there and says, blah, blah, blah. It's not that hard living in California. I'm a streamer full time and blah, blah, blah. Hey, buddy, not only are you male, white, and apparently connected in some way because you talk a big game, yet it doesn't seem like you've done much, but here you are poo-pooing other people's existence as being like, they were saying that adults can't be bullied, and I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? You don't live in reality. You have your own special space where you seem to be immune to it, but adults definitely can be bullied. And it's not just bullying takes a pretty broad gamut, right? There's a pretty broad spectrum of bullying. And one of them is institutional, where you can't get a raise, you can't move up, you can't do anything. You're told that you have to work extra hours even though you're on your day off, etc. I mean, it's basically economic bullying, because you can't sit there and say no unless you're willing to walk. And if you're willing to walk, then you don't really need that job because you got something else on the side. Yeah, Crazy Cat Lady says bullying has more than one definition. Yeah, not apparently to that streamer that I'm talking about. I won't throw them under a bus, but I actually watch them because I'm interested in what people talk about in politics. So it says our members were devastated first by the pandemic and now by the greed of their bosses. Union co-president Kurt Peterson said in a statement, the industry got bailouts while we got cuts. Yep. Time and time again. And then people, I won't get into this, but anyway, contracts expired midnight on Friday at more than 60 hotels, including properties owned by major chains such as Marriott and Hilton. The strike affects about half of the 32,000 hospitality workers the union represents across Southern California and Arizona. Only half? I'm curious.
Yeah, maybe either they're not unionized or maybe there's another union.
Yeah, maybe they're not part of the union. Yeah. Well, that'll change. Talks with other hotels were at a stalemate. The coalition of more than 40 hotels involved in talks accused union leaders of canceling a scheduled bargaining session and refusing to come to the table. The hotels have offered a wage increase of $250 per hour in the first 12 months and $625 over 4 years. An increase of $625 over 4 years. I don't know. I think a wage increase should match with the increase in the the operational costs. So if you have massive increases in profits, then I think that some of those profits need to go to the employees. They're the freaking reason why you have those massive profits, because your enterprise would just be a stagnating mess if not for those people. So respect them for what they're doing for your business, and don't treat them as if all they do is clean a room or, I don't know, take care of your customers. They are your first defense against complaints. And if they have to choose between going the extra mile and outright quiet quitting, maybe more than $2.50 an hour will do that, because you don't have loyalty to them, because you'll fire them in a heartbeat if your profit to loss ratio is out of alignment. And investors say, well, you don't have a 10-year runway, so you're going to have to fire 500 people. So Hilton, will fire 500 people because the board says you don't have a long enough runway. There's zero loyalty to customer, or to employee and employer in today's age. Everything seems to be gig economy, where each person in the United States, this is speaking of in the United States, it's an at-will country. If I want to work, I work. If I don't want to work, I can go somewhere else. An employer can fire me without cause. The only time they can't is if I'm in some protected class and they know it and they act on that protected class status. So that's why people unionize when it's systemic abuse. But I've been harping about this union and striking and all of that for quite a bit this episode. So let's keep on hustling through this news. This next article is over in Prime Glass, which is a channel that's dedicated to photography. And this is pretty amazing. So Sony 400mm lens saves a sports photographer from a 104 mile per hour foul ball. And when I first saw this, I was like, that's a very expensive lens protector. But it was actually protecting his face. So pay the price. Jim Rassel wasn't expecting to have his $12,000 Sony 400mm lens. It's a G Master. So these are very fast, very high quality glass lenses that are just, it's amazing. Smashed when he headed in to photograph an MLB game on June 24th, 2023. So there is a story here. It's over at fstoppers.com. Reza Malayeri is the author of this. And it's a 104 mile per hour foul ball fired at his face. I mean, that is just brutal. Things took an interesting turn during the first inning. First inning, too. Ow, he's out a $12,000 lens before he even got any pictures. Maybe of the ball smashing through it. Anyway, between Miami Marlins and Pittsburgh Pirates on Saturday, June 24th. Wow. Yeah, 400mm 2.8 got taken out by a line drive, glass everywhere. Fortunately, I'm okay. Found out later the line drive that hit my lens had an exit velocity of 104 miles per hour. That sucks. So the community rallied together and generously raised a total of $7,363, but that's not where the story ends. As word began to circulate about what happened to Jim, the team at Sony Pro Support got wind of the situation and stepped in to match the outpouring. So in an act of kindness, they sent Jim a replacement 400mm. Oh no, it's a loan. Agreed to completely repair his lens for the amount that was raised on the GoFundMe, and even extended Jim's Pro Support membership for an additional year. Wow. That's weird, though. Why not just give him a replacement lens and then...
Right. I mean, for such a large company and a low price compared to what the company has a budget of.
And so much goodwill, You don't have to do that for everybody, but wow. If I was Sony, I would have just said, okay, let's do some tremendous good here. Hopefully Jim Rassall is a really great guy, and you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't find out later that he's a complete tool and should be paying extra. No, I'm just kidding. So, needless to say, Jim was overwhelmed by the outpouring of support and generosity from Sony and the community, and shared, "I want to sincerely thank each and every person who donated to help me get my lens fixed. Sony is going ahead with the repairs for the amount in the GoFundMe fundraiser." So that's awesome. I love stories like that. I'm more happy that he didn't take a 104 mile per hour header.
Yeah, I'm thinking he wouldn't have been here if that happened.
I was at a baseball game once where somebody hit a foul ball, and it was a line freaking drive. You could hear it hit this person in the chest, and they stumbled down to the ground, and EMTs and everybody showed up, and the person turned out to be okay, but they could not stop. This guy, he smashed that ball so hard that if it would have been a home run hit, it would still be in orbit. I mean, he crushed this ball. I'd never heard anything like that. And I was at ground level, so that thing went screaming by. Crazy Cat Lady says there was a Yukon pitcher who took a comeback at 109. Oh, to the hip. Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
I've seen some of those where they go, where for whatever reason, the pitcher just seems to have this sense that there's going to be a ball coming right at him. And there was a dude that did this kind of matrix bend where it just zipped right past his face. Otherwise, he'd probably be in orbit.
Well, I hope that pitcher made it to the major leagues, because that's at college level.
Yeah. So I hope he turned out okay. A big guy, over 6 feet, 250 pounds, hit the ground hard. Yeah, I can imagine. I never, he's a junior in college this year, so he's still going. Well, I hope he's absolutely okay and 100% in short order. The something that I never realized as a kid, right? I never really went up to baseball players. I never got a chance to meet either minor league or major league baseball players. And the ones in high school and college didn't seem that, overwhelming to me, like big. But that was when I was a kid. Something is going on, man. I don't know what milk they're drinking or what proteins they're eating, but as an adult, the first time I actually shook hands with a major league baseball player, and I'm not a tiny person, but I'm also not huge. But I was looking up like I had met a giant. Like Andre the Giant went to shake my hand, right? The same thing happened with a Navy SEAL sniper. Met a Navy SEAL sniper, and their hand was like massive. And I'm like, are you human, for crying out loud? It's just like a completely different species of human. It's amazing. And so they bust their hump, and when they hit a ball 104 miles an hour, you better take it seriously. So your son is part of Yukon baseball team? Yeah, you'll have to tell us about Team Impact. I'm not sure what that is. I'll have to look into it. While you do that, let's go on to the last article for the night. This one is pretty cool because I've always been into this kind of a game. This is in the Warcrafters channel. Build and defend a cool castle block by block in the Cataclysmo demo. An upcoming base building RTS from the developer of Moonlighter and the Mage Seeker has a demo on Steam showing off the versatility of its building system and how potentially exciting an RTS it's shaping up to be. I agree. This actually comes dangerously close to a project that I had started many, many years ago, but the tech, kind of like the thing that I pitched for EA, was not available back when I was doing this kind of work. Jonathan Bolding over at PC Gamer put this article together. It says, "Horrors emerge from the mist and you must end them." My project is a little bit different, but still centers around building a castle. Um, and this seems like a really fun game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this video and I'm going to mute it and we'll just talk over it because I do not want to strike. So I don't know if they're going to show any gameplay because we don't watch these games until, or these videos or articles until we actually play it. But it's basically a city builder where you put your castle together block by block, following the terrain as necessary, and then critters come out of the dark. And it's basically a 3D tower defense, except that you actually build the tower in 3 dimensions and to your heart's content or budget limitations. I'm not sure exactly what all is involved because all it is a demo right now. And I will be playing this tomorrow because I've now got the demo installed. I'm also going to be playing Dave the Diver and Diablo. I may actually play Forever Skies because I've solved the problem with the technology limit that I had in place. I had a piece of software that was keeping me from successfully playing certain games. At any rate, Cataclysmo is over on Steam right now as a demo. I would suggest going and getting it, putting it in your favorites wish list. Sorry, that's what it's called. In which I have, where am I now? Let's take a look real quick. Let's do it live. My wish list has 230 items in it. So, be sure to follow here on Twitch. I need keys, and I'd love to give keys away too. And that's not going to happen if I can't get more people hanging out in chat. Tell a friend, please. So Crazy Cat Lady says that their youngest has a bunch of medical issues, and Team Impact matches kids with medical issues with college teams to give them something to look forward to doing to take their mind off of the medical issues. That
sounds like a great program.
Sounds like a great program. Sounds like an amazing program. And all the best. Yep, that's really cool. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I think it's amazing. So that's it. I'm just gonna call it, I guess. I mean, I want to go play this game, but I'm gonna wait until tomorrow and play it with y'all if you want to show up. I'm going to try again to start at 10 a.m. and play the Cataclysmo demo until it stops, and then play Dave the Diver. Then take a break and get lunch, and then come back, and I will play either Diablo or Forever Skies, which is the game that I've been wanting to play, but the software was glitchy. At any rate, we are done with all 12 of our articles, and that brings us back to the very front page of the whole site. And then we mash that welcome sign, just like we always do, and we get a bunch of new news, and we find out what might be happening for tomorrow, kind of as a early warning. Ark's remaster has been delayed. Will release with a launch discount. Well, that sucks. I like the idea of Ark. I want Ark 2 to be released so that it has higher resolution and a better user interface. Not everybody hates the user interface like I do, but I do.
Shipping faces showdown over greenhouse gases. That's going to be interesting.
Boy. That's another thing. Just tack that on with the rest of the strike stuff, and yeah, it's going to be rough. But it's amazing. There's so much wealth out there. So many people have made investments pre-pandemic that have now recovered, and they're making bank. I get so many people talking to me about how much money they're making. It's crazy. But we still have shipping strikes and hotel strikes and trains getting
Writer
allergic.
strikes,
Yeah, writer strikes, all
railroad
kinds of stuff.
strikes. Yeah, you said that one, I guess.
Crazy Cat Lady says that they love to watch Toll play Ark. Ark is a lot of fun to watch. I'm high maintenance when it comes to games. I thoroughly enjoy watching people play games because they're usually better at it than I am. Plus, I'm kind of chill, you know. Like one of my favorite games is games like City Skylines and where is it? Just forgot it. Like Core Keeper. It's not really crazy wild stuff. Hyperkinetic stuff. I like just kind of being chill. So I was trying to find the name of this other game that I always play, and I can't find it now. Doggone it. Anyway, I'll play it. Okay, focus. Right? Is that the AI just like sent me the command to stay focused, but I'm so easily distracted. All I want to do is hang out and talk. But I can't. I have mayoral duties that I must attend to. I've got homework that's been assigned. So I am going to bow out. That all said, thank you very much, everybody, for coming and hanging out. I know that I'm actually, we typically do the show for an hour to an hour and a half. Sometimes I start soapboxing and we have really good conversations in chat and we end up about 2 hours. All of that ends up in the show because it gets ported over to YouTube, and then as a podcast, it's an audio thing. So be sure to go over there. Go over to YouTube and follow us there. Make a comment there. That really helps us. Favorite it and each one of those videos, and that helps us tremendously over on YouTube. There's no rating and review system here on Twitch to really do anything in terms of helping out the program other than just being here, that's the amazing thing. You have plenty of people that you can spend your time with, but you've graciously given it to me. I really do appreciate it. The AI also agrees, but will probably not express it like I do. I kind of mumble my way through things. And if you download the podcast and give it a review, give it an honest review. I mean, I prefer 5 stars, but if you give it a 5-star rating and you write a review, I will say your review here on the stream if you say it's okay. Otherwise, it will exist there and only there. What happens in Apple stays in Apple. But you can get the podcast anywhere. But it is this show in audio form only. No editing. I might put bumpers on it, but other than that, I don't do edits because I'm I'm brutally honest with y'all. I don't edit things. I love transparency and honesty above all else. So that's it for today. I want to thank you again, and I will see y'all, some of you later tonight in other channels, and otherwise it's going to be tomorrow. So keep in touch and be sure to follow. Stay awesome, everybody. Yeah, you know you're all awesome, aren't you? I'm Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com, and up there is the AI. You want to say goodnight?
Good night, ohmTown citizens. We appreciate you hanging out with us, and we'll see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern.
True. And I'm going to transition to the end of the show, but I want y'all to tell me where you want to go. Let's see. Who is available for me to throw y'all to? I'm going to do the transition, though. Let's see. Where can I bounce you to? I don't know who is streaming. I don't see anybody streaming. Okay, folks. I am just gonna go. So thank you very much again. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. See you later, Crazy Cat Lady.